When we think about disciplinary procedures, when we think about integrating the character standard component within our organization, I want you to understand this definition of discipline, because we tend to think of discipline always in a negative connotation, don't we? We think of discipline as being some type of punishment, some type of sanction because of improper or unethical behavior on the part of someone, and it can certainly mean that, and oftentimes it does. And having a character component within our disciplinary model is a critical component of this overall effort as well. But let me give you this definition. This is actually a dictionary definition of the word discipline, but you got to use an older dictionary. You got to go back to at least about 1940 or so to find this particular definition of the word discipline. Discipline is training. Training that molds, corrects, strengthens, and perfects, guess what? Moral character. That's what discipline's all about. So by this definition, you're all being disciplined today. This is a disciplinary proceeding right here today, because this is training that is designed to strengthen and improve moral character and your understanding of how to integrate these principles within your organization. But let's talk for just a minute, as we wrap up this fifth component, how do we go about incorporating a character component into our disciplinary model? Because typically, what are we doing? Again, achievement-based standards, behavior-based standards, performance-based standards. How do we get the character component in here? Well, understand this is our character-based rule of discipline. The offense, whatever violation of whatever standard or whatever policy that you're dealing with, the offense determines the range of options. Typically, when an offense occurs within your organization, there is a range of options that you have available to you from a disciplinary standpoint, a progressive disciplinary model. You might have something as simple as, verbal reprimand on the low end of the scale, and you might have something as serious as termination or maybe even criminal prosecution on the high end of the scale, and then a whole bunch of other levels of discipline in between, whether it's demotion or written reprimands, et cetera, et cetera. And you can get very creative with all of this in your disciplinary model. But typically, there is a range of options that are available to you. And you as a sheriff, for those of you that are in that position, you typically have a wide range of options because there is a lot of discretionary authority that's been vested in us due to the nature of our position as an elected official, is it not? Now, the range of options that are available might be large. The range of options might be very narrow. It kind of depends on the nature of the offense. That will determine your range of options. But here's where character comes into play. Let the character of the individual determine which of those options you choose. If you have determined that this individual is a man or a woman of good character and typically operates under authority and is a faithful representative of you and your organization, then you might choose a more lenient disciplinary action on the lower end of that scale. If, on the other hand, this person is known to be the renegade that's out from under authority, that's causing problems and disruptions within the organization, then you might tend to be more serious in the choice that you make. Judges do this all the time. Prosecutors do this all the time. There is prosecutorial discretion. There's judicial discretion in looking at these types of things. There's no reason in the world that we can't implement this procedure, this standard within our own organizations. But you know what? We're scared of it. And I'll tell you why we're scared of it. We have convinced ourselves that the proper way to administer discipline is that if you treat this person this way for this offense, then you've got to treat everybody the same way for the same offense. Haven't we? Because we want to be fair. Well, let me tell you something, folks. Fairness does not exist in the real world. There is no way to treat everybody exactly fair all the time, because fairness is determined by how you treat other people. You see, how I treat you, if you've committed an offense, now becomes based on how I treated everybody else that committed the same offense. It's a moving standard. You can't get a handle on it. The character-based standard, on the other hand, says there is an unmoving, unchanging standard to which we must be held accountable to. And how we respond to that standard, our character, will determine where we fall on the scale. So we use a model that looks kind of like this. Here's the officer underneath authority, the faithful spirit, and he starts to take these steps out. Typically, there's some stages in this degradation as an officer gets more and more out from under authority. The independent spirit, I don't need you telling me what to do. The wounded spirit get their feelings hurt when things don't go their way. The bitter spirit now becomes angered and enraged. The rebellious spirit is now out for revenge, takes it out on others, and ultimately the unrestorable spirit that likes being a renegade and has no interest in being restored. Well, this is a reflection of the character of the individual. So you could very easily superimpose a progressive disciplinary model, this is just an example, that you might see within an organization. So in other words, let's say that we have a person that's committed a violation of a standard, violation of a policy, and we have a large range of options available. Let's say that due to the nature of the offense, that we could go from simply counseling this individual all the way up to and including termination. And that happens frequently within our organizations. It's up to you. You have that authority. How do you choose? Within this range, how do you choose? Well, we're telling you, take a look at the character of the individual. Take a look at how they have responded to these standards, how they have responded to your authority, how faithful they have been in representing you in the past, and you will have some guidance in administering a character-based disciplinary model within your organization. So we have here 5 components of setting a character-based standard in your organization. Most of you already have the performance-based standards, behavior-based standards. We're saying include a character-based standard. Many of you have done that. I've seen Jim Alderton's here and Argel Dick's here and Roger Scott. They've been doing this stuff within their organizations with great successes. They wouldn't be back in here for a booster shot this morning because they believe in it and they know it works. They've experienced it. Communicate the standard. We gave you a bunch of resources that are available out there. We're going to give you some more before you leave here at the end of this session. Modeling the standard, being a man or woman under authority, protected from some of these bad influences, recognizing the standard, making the character connection when someone does something good, and also in reverse, making the character connection when someone does something bad and incorporating that character-based principle within your disciplinary model. The story goes that Henry Ford is cranking out these Model Ts. Got the assembly line going, he's making them, and he's making money hand over fist. And one day, one of the machines breaks. He can't get it fixed, causing every mechanic, nobody can fix it. The whole assembly line shuts down. Orders are backing up, he's losing money by the minute. He's getting more and more frustrated. He said, "Give me the guy that invented the machine. He'll know how to fix it." So they fly this guy in from out of town. It's a little old man. And the little old man comes out on the assembly line floor, and he shuffles his way down, and he stops at this one machine, and he peers underneath it. He takes out a pocket screwdriver, and he gives a screw a half a turn. "Throw the switch!" They throw the switch. Machine runs like a champ. Ford is ecstatic. That is, until he gets the bill from the little old man. $20,000. Ford about has a heart attack. $20,000. He's got to be out of his cotton picking mind. All he did was turn a screw a half a turn. You tell him, "I want an itemized invoice justifying this outrageous expense." So the little old man sends him an invoice. And it says, for turning the screw, $1. For knowing which screw to turn, $19,999. And the point is, folks, we've been turning the wrong screws. We've been turning this screw and that screw and flipping this knob and turning this switch and cranking this dial. We've been trying all kinds of management philosophies. We've had management by objectives. We've had participatory management. We've had management by wandering around. We've had total quality management. We've had 7 habits of highly effective people. We've had principle-centered leadership. We've had all this stuff, and there's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with any of those philosophies, any of those programs. But none of them work without a foundation of character. And you know what? This character screw that we're trying to turn here today, we don't even have to give it a full turn. We just got to tweak it. Just tweak it just a little bit and begin to incorporate these principles into what you're already doing, and it's going to give you the tools necessary to start reaping the fruit and reaping some of these benefits. Franklin?